Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this batshit crazy world that we're living in. And this video tonight, I'm going to tell you one of those batshit crazy stories. So imagine that you get a visit from the police or from the school, a complaint that your son, your teenage son, who has problems with bullying at school apparently, has been threatening to go and shoot up his school on Discord, on the social media app Discord. And people come round, you've got loads of weapons in your home, and they come round to talk to you about it, and you express concern, and it all comes to nothing. And then what do you do next? Comes to the following Christmas, you buy them a rifle. Of course you do. Of course you do. Anyway, so this boy, Colt Gray, he went out and shot up his school, and he killed 6 people. I think it was 6. Let me just check. So, hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Vicky Marie. I do videos on true crime, and today what we're going to talk about is this most latest school shooting in Georgia. So let's have a look at where Georgia is. Georgia is in the USA. Let's have a look at Google Maps. So where are we? So this is Georgia, not that far away from Florida, just up the way there, in between sort of Orlando, Tampa, Nashville, etc. So I'm getting a bit more used to the geography of the USA from the cases that we've covered from the USA. This is Georgia. This is where this happened. Now, the thing is that what's happening now when there's school shootings, which as we know it, happen on a regular basis in the USA. But now parents are being held to account as well, aren't they? So like in the Ethan Crumbly case, where Ethan's mother and father were sentenced for having a part in the fact that their son was able to go out and kill people. The same has happened here. So this boy, his father is a single parent. His mother and father had split up, and he was living with his father. So let's have a little bit of background about it. So as I say, what had happened the year before is the police had been called out. Let's have a look at this article. So Colin Gray, this is the father, 54 years old, the father of Apalachee High School shooter Colt Gray, who was 14. This is him entering the Barrow County courthouse for his first appearance. And this was on Friday, September the 6th, 2024. So it was just the two of them, the teenager and his father, since an eviction a year earlier had ended with the boy's parents parting ways in a separation that fractured the entire family. That's what Colin Gray told a Georgia sheriff's investigator who came to his door in May 2023, asking whether an online threat to commit a school shooting had been posted by his son Colt. He said, "I don't know anything about him saying things like that," he told the investigator Daniel Miller, according to a transcript of their interview. "I'm going to be as mad as hell if he did, and then all the guns will go away." However, now both he and his son are charged in the killings of 2 students and 2 teachers last Wednesday at Apalachee High School in Barrow County, outside Atlanta. 9 others were hurt and 7 of them were shot. The Grays appeared on Friday for the first time in court, where their attorneys declined to immediately seek bail. So this teen is charged with murder, and his father is accused of second-degree murder for providing his car with a semi-automatic AR-15 style rifle used to kill the children. Arrest warrants say that the elder Gray did so already knowing that his son was a threat to himself and to others. So it's inconceivable, isn't it, really? A 14-year-old boy and his father buys him an automatic rifle for Christmas. And a troubled boy, a boy that there'd already been these problems with. Jackson County authorities ended their inquiry into Colt Gray a year ago, concluding there wasn't clear evidence to link him to a threat posted on Discord, a social media site popular with video gamers. The records from that investigation provide at least a narrow glimpse into the boy who struggled with his parents' breakup, and at the middle school that he attended at the time, his father said others frequently taunted him. "He gets flustered and under pressure. He doesn't really think straight," Colin Gray told the investigator on May the 21st, 2023, recalling a discussion he'd had with the boy's principal. However, shooting guns and hunting, he said, were frequent pastimes for father and son. He said he was encouraging the boy to be more active outdoors and spend less time playing video games on his Xbox. Apparently, when Colt Gray killed a deer months earlier, his father swelled with pride. He showed the investigator a photo on his cell phone, saying, "You see him with blood on his cheeks from shooting his first deer. It was just the greatest day ever," Colin Gray said. Anyway, there's no mention in the investigator's report, apparently an interview transcript, of either Gray owning an assault-style rifle. Asked if his son had access to firearms, the father said yes, but he said the guns were not kept loaded, and he insisted he had emphasized safety when he was teaching the boy to shoot. He said he knows the seriousness of the weapons and what they can do, and how to use them and not use them. Anyway, apparently an eviction upended the Gray's family in summer 2022. On July the 25th of that year, a sheriff's deputy was dispatched to the rental home on a suburban cul-de-sac where Colin Gray's wife, Colt, and the boy's 2 younger siblings lived. A moving crew was piling their belongings in the yard. The Jackson County deputy said in a report that the movers found guns. Okay, just want to say, Chumber, I'm trying to reply to your comment, and YouTube keeps rejecting my comments as spam. So, sorry, but yeah, it was a good live, thank you. And hunting bows in a closet in the master bedroom. They turned the weapons and ammunition over to the deputy for safekeeping, rather than leave them outside with the family's other possessions. The deputy wrote they left copies of receipt forms for the weapons on the front door so that Gray could pick them up later at the sheriff's office. The reason for the eviction is not mentioned in the report, but Colin Gray told the investigator that he had paid his rent. Anyway, he said it was following the eviction that his wife left him, taking the two younger siblings with her. So Colt Gray, according to his dad, struggled with the separation. Colin Gray worked at a construction job, so probably Cole was left a lot to his own devices. I'm the sole provider doing high-rises downtown, he told the investigator. 2 days later, there was a follow-up interview with Colin Gray while he was at work. He said by phone, I'm hanging off the top of a building. I've got a big crane lift going, so it's sort of noisy up here. So apparently he frequently got picked on. Colin, the father, said that Colt frequently got picked on. Some students just ridiculed him day after day after day. I didn't want him to fight anybody, but they just keep pinching him and touching him. Gray said, words are one thing, but you stop touching him and that's a whole different deal. And it's just escalated to the point where, like, his finals were last week and that was the last thing on his mind. Anyway, the investigator at the time interviewed Colt, who was only 13, and he was described in the report as quiet, calm and reserved. He denied making any threats, and he said that months earlier he'd stopped using the Discord program, a platform where the school threat was posted. He later told his father his account had been hacked. The only thing I have is TikTok, but I just go on there and watch videos, he said. And then a year later, they would both end up charged in the high school shooting. So he insisted a year before that to the sheriff's investigator, his son was not the type to threaten violence. He's not a loner. He just wants to go to school, do his own thing, and he doesn't want any trouble. So that's what he said. Now let's have a look at this video. Got a news video about it.
Has been arraigned. In his first court appearance, the suspect, Colt Gray, was charged with 4 counts of felony murder. He's accused of killing 2 students and 2 teachers with an AR-style gun. The teen's father, Colin Gray, was also arraigned in that same courtroom a short time ago. He was charged yesterday with letting his son possess a weapon. That's according to investigators. Father is now facing several charges, including second-degree murder. CBS News national correspondent Jerika Duncan was in the courtroom for the arraignments and joins me now to talk about this. So Jerika, I believe, guys in the control room, do we have some sound from the arraignment this morning? Let's roll that sound, and Jerika, let's you and I talk about it on the other side.
No.
So I just need to correct a couple of things on the record. I correctly told you the maximum penalty for the crimes for which you are charged. That's correct, except for the fact that you are under 18 years old. So I wanted to inform you and make it clear to you that the penalty for the crimes for which you are charged does not include death.
All right, Jerika, so we just heard a little bit of what the judge had.
So the death penalty is off the table because of his age, but I presume a life sentence is on the table.
Had to say. He was speaking to that 14-year-old boy. What's really interesting, as you know, in this case is something that we've started to see, which is parents being held responsible for the actions of their children, specifically as it relates to shootings at schools. What else did you see this morning in that court?
So what do you think about that? Do you agree with it? Do you think that parents should be held accountable for their children's actions when they go and shoot up schools? I mean, personally, I think especially in cases like this where he's actually gone out and bought him for Christmas a gun. I mean, I'm just lost for words at that. Because this is a troubled teen as well. He was having problems. He'd had this investigation against him. He was told his father that he was being bullied at school and picked on. Anyone with half a brain cell would see that he should not be in possession of guns. I know that there's a big hunting tradition in America and in these places. I just find it disgusting that he would think it was great that his son had shot a deer and he had blood on his cheek. I just find that foul, to be honest. But okay, that's what they do. Well, but this boy had issues. His father knew he had issues. He bought him a gun. The gun must have been left. Well, the gun was left around where the boy had access to it, because he gained access to it and went and murdered 2 students and 2 teachers. So we'll have a look at them in a minute. The victims. We'll talk about the victims a little bit. So what do you think? Do you think this is right, that this father should be held responsible?
Yeah, and you're speaking about the Crumley case earlier this year, when you had the first set of parents in this country charged in connection to a mass shooting in Michigan that also claimed the life of 4 students. As far as today's case, what was so interesting, Vlad, is the idea of seeing all of the parents in that first row in the courtroom who came in and wanted to be there for this first court appearance, and having to see that 14-year-old's face again, because they needed to clarify that he is not, in fact, facing the death penalty because he is 14 years old. That would only apply if he was over the age of 18. So definitely tough for those parents who I watched. Some were crying, some were holding each other. A few of them had shades on, as you can imagine, just still very stricken with grief and overcome with emotion, and having to sit there and look at the person that is believed to be responsible for the killing of their children, of those 2 teachers, was incredibly difficult. I talked to a couple of those family members as they came out. They didn't have any comment, but it was a bizarre moment. I've never seen anything like that, when it's already painful enough to see the face of someone accused of killing 4 people, to have to come back and see them again. But again, another moment, if you will, because you're talking about a father who we now know gave a gun to his son after the investigators came to the house inquiring about the possibility of his then 13-year-old son wanting to commit a school shooting.
Yeah, first of all, Jerika, you're absolutely right, which is why I wanted to show these pictures in the.
Now, the father, I don't know if you saw it briefly there in the courthouse, he was rocking backwards and forwards, like really rocking backwards and forwards. You probably can't believe what's going on, but he should have known. He should, he can't say he didn't have any warning. This is not like a boy who's never talked about this before, just going out suddenly and doing it. There was issues here.
A little bit of this sound from the courtroom, because I was struck by and that's what I assumed when the camera panned to the courtroom. I looked and I saw people holding their hands, people wearing sunglasses, presumably because there are tears in their eyes. And that was incredibly, incredibly moving. And then, as you just explained, this timeline, police a year ago, when the suspect was only 13 years old, began an investigation. Take us through that investigation, and then subsequently what the authorities are alleging, as you just indicated, about what the father's actions in the wake of that investigation, which led up to this shooting.
Vlad, one thing that stands out, and we've heard time and time again, if you see something, say something. So this was a case where people from California, from Australia, reached out to authorities. They then sent that information to the county. The county went to the home in May of 2023 to ask the family questions about possible messages sent on Discord regarding a school shooting. The young man, 13 years old at the time, denied it. The father admitted that there were guns in the house, but he said, we keep them secure, we keep them locked up. And they went about their way because no crime had honestly been committed at that point in time. And that's the tough part about a lot of these types of stories, even when we hear people say, oh, he mentioned something about, or she said she was going to do such and such. But at the end of the day, until the crime is committed, it's really hard for authorities to get in there and arrest anyone. Of course, we've talked about red flag laws to help prevent things from happening. But it's just so unfortunate that there was sort of a peek into what was to come, but who would have ever known for sure and with certainty that that would be what we're here talking about today, the death of 4 people at Apalachee High School.
Yeah, and that 14-year-old now arraigned on 4 counts of felony murder, and his father also arrested and in that courtroom. Jerika Duncan reporting from Winder, Georgia for us this morning. Jerika, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so let's have a look at the victims. So this is one of the teachers, Christina Irimie. Now, I say there are other people that have been shot. Sorry, let me just get other people that have been shot, but these are the 4 people that have died. So 2 teachers, 2 students. So this is one of the teachers, Christina Irimie. And she's a Romanian immigrant. Oh, they blame immigrants for everything. This poor woman's she's been shot by a good old American boy. So Christina Irimie, a Romanian immigrant, was one of 2 teachers at Apalachee High School who died in the shooting. She was 53. She is listed as mathematics instructor in the staff directory published online by the Barrow County School District. Irimie jumped in front of a student to protect them from the shooter, according to an eyewitness. Gosh, that is bravery, isn't it? Sacrifice. This is part of the reason why. Anyway, never mind. I would not be surprised that she would do such a thing because she was dedicated to her students, to the children. Father Nikolai Klempers, who said he had known Irimie for more than, they're calling her by her surname, aren't they? Christina, please, Christina. Who said that he had known Christina for more than 20 years, told CBS News. Isaac Sanguma, a student at the school who was there when the shooting happened, told us that Christina was his maths teacher. He recalled speaking to her for the last time on Wednesday morning when he said she encouraged him to get to class on time. The high school junior described Christina as welcoming and said she prioritized instilling a sense of confidence in her students. He also said she was a kind person who told corny jokes. I didn't know that this was going to be my last time seeing her and talking to her, Sanguma said. I just can't believe that my teacher, somebody I see every day, it just doesn't feel real. This is the second teacher, Richard Aspinwall, who died. He was also a maths teacher at Apalachee High School. He was 39. Richard was an assistant coach for the high school's football team and a father to 2 young girls. The head football coach, Mike Hancock, told the news outlet that Richard would hug his wife, Shayna, and their children in the end zone after every game. So he's got children, so he's got wife and children who have lost their husband and father. He would always push us. So he was described as a kind man whose standards he hoped to live up. This guy, sophomore Isaiah Hooks, said he was a kind man whose standards he hoped to live up to. He would always push us to be who we are and made sure we were doing the right thing, Isaiah said. Isaiah had just seen his coach that morning at football practice. I wish it was all a dream. He said, me and my team, me and my friends, we can all just wake up and it's still Wednesday morning and none of this had ever really happened. It must feel like a dream though, mustn't it? Anyway, Richard formerly served as a secondary football coach at Mountain View High School in Lawrenceville, Georgia, according to that school's football team. With deepest sympathy, we share that former MV secondary coach Ricky Aspinwall was tragically lost during the senseless act at a nearby high school today. The coach was a beloved member of MVHS football and the school's math department. We pray for Shayna and his girls. Okay, then the other two that were murdered, we've got two students. Christian Angulo, the youngest of 4 children, one of 2 students killed, 14 years old. I was really close to him because he's my best friend's little brother. Student Jimena Verdin, a family friend, told CBS News, something really unexpected. You don't expect it to happen to you until it does. And 14-year-old Esther Matthias, a classmate of Christian's, described him as a very sweet kid. He did not deserve this, neither did the coach, which was Ricky, or anyone else, and yeah, it was very unfortunate. A GoFundMe campaign created by Lizette Angulo, who identified herself as Angulo's oldest sister, describes him as a very good kid who is very sweet and so caring. He was so loved by many. His loss was so sudden and unexpected. We are truly heartbroken. He really didn't deserve this. So Christian's family has asked for donations to help support their funeral expenses. I mean, I just think when these children die, I mean, they wouldn't have been expecting, they wouldn't have had a funeral plan, would they? They won't be expecting a 14-year-old to die. As of Thursday afternoon, the campaign had already raised more than $40,000, far exceeding its original goal. So that's good. Mason Schermerhorn was also a student killed in Wednesday's school shooting. He was 14 years old. And Ronald Clark, a chaplain who knows his mother, told CBS News he went inside the school to help investigators find him. She thought she was coming to pick up her son to go home. And that part was just devastating, he said. So friends of his family told the New York Times that he was a family-orientated teenager who enjoyed life. And one of them, 40-year-old Doug Kilburn, told the paper that Schermerhorn always had an upbeat attitude about everything. And Louise Briscoe, a co-worker and friend of Schermerhorn's mother, said the teenager and his family were looking forward to their upcoming holiday at Disney World. There you go. So all those lives destroyed, the 2 children's families, Ricky and his kids, his wife, and this lady as well, Christina, and just terrible, isn't it? Terrible. So now then, I want to look at how many school shootings there have been this year. Because, so I don't know if you know, but J.D. Vance, Mr. Donald Trump's running mate, has caused controversy, of course, because he has said that school shooting is a fact of life. So, it's funny, isn't it? Because these right-wingers, they don't... Now, it's true that if there were no guns, in America, this comes up every time, doesn't it? Let's presume that the gun laws were changed in America. Now, we've got no guarantee that still these people would still maybe find a way to cause havoc. Because, look what happened in Southport in the UK. That boy, a 17-year-old boy, took a knife and murdered 3 children. So, it's a very difficult subject, I think, because there is no guarantee. If somebody really wants to kill people, it wouldn't matter maybe if guns were outlawed. Maybe this boy would have just gone in there with a machete or a Bowie knife or something. What do you think? Do you think it would make any difference? Let me know in the comments what you think about gun laws. Would it make any difference if the gun laws were changed? But anyway, that's a typical thing that the right wing say, isn't it? That no, it wouldn't make any difference. And maybe it's true. But anyway, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate, he's got into trouble because he said that school shooting is a fact of life. So now maybe he's right, but was it the right thing to say at that time, just after a school shooting? 4 victims, families missing their loved ones, trauma, and was he right to be so blasé about it? Oh, school shooting's a fact of life. So he's been I think Donald Trump made a big mistake in picking J.D. Vance, to be honest, as his running mate. He is tone deaf. He says all the wrong things, a bit like Donald Trump, really. But Donald Trump seems to get away with talking a load of shite. But I don't think J.D. Vance is getting away with it. But so America's ideological split over gun control has spilled over into the presidential campaign after J.D. Vance voiced regret that school shootings had become a fact of life in the US. You're just basically giving up and saying, well, we've just got to get on with it. So this apparently has ignited a political row, as the Democrats, of course, they'll use that as evidence of a lack of empathy. And of course, then the Republicans are saying, oh, the remarks were taken out of context. So he has called for more security measures in school. God, could they have any more security measures? I thought they were all locked down, these bloody schools now. And don't they all get lessons in what to do if there's a shooter or whatever? I mean, how awful. Imagine that on your orientation day. You just start in school, and one of the things you have to go through is what to do if there's a shooter. Whereas Democrats, including Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they want a ban on assault-style rifles, more background checks and other gun safety action. Now, I don't know. Sorry, I'm just stopping that a minute. You might have gathered that's a video. This is a video that I made earlier, but I am really here as well. I keep trying to make comments, and YouTube keeps rejecting my comments as spam. Says YouTube rejected your comment. This usually means they think it's spam. Try changing it a bit. For God's sake, how can they reject my own comments? But anyway, what I was trying to make a comment and say was, I do think it's a good idea to start charging the parents, because I do feel that by charging the parents, then the parents will it's more likely that they'll either not have any guns in their home, full stop, or they will, make sure their teenagers can't get hold of them. Everybody knows about school shootings. If you had a teenager, it's got to be on your mind. Either you're going to be, if you're living in America and you've got a teenager going to school, going to high school, you're either going to be worrying that they're going to be shot, or you're going to be worrying that they're going to be the shooter if they're troubled, if they've got, issues, which most teenagers have got issues. Somebody showed me a teenager that hasn't got issues. So I do think charging the parents is a good idea, especially in a case like this, where the guy had bought the gun himself, giving it he was glorifying guns and violence against animals with the young lad hunting and stuff. And okay, I know a lot of people do that, but he knew his son had issues because the police had been round to see him to tell him that he'd threatened to kill people on Discord or whatever. And then I was just looking then as this video is playing. Apparently the his grandma the week before had said that he had gone and warned the school. I haven't looked into it properly yet, but that was JLR on Twitter saying that the grandma had warned the school the week before. So, there were signs. So I do think that maybe charging the parents may well be a step forward, because then the parents are either going to get rid of all the guns from their home, or they're going to at least make sure they're safely locked up and their teenager can't get their hands on them. Exactly. Nobody needs an assault weapon method, really. But I don't know if that would have prevented this particular shooting, because, this was his dad bought him a gun. Well, first and foremost, a 14-year-old should not have a gun. That should be just a given. So there should be an age limit, shouldn't there? Maybe, God, you're not even in America. You can't smoke. You can't even drink till you're 21. But you can have an assault rifle. Just ludicrous, isn't it? So there needs to be some age checks. But I don't know if that would have made any difference in this case, because it was his own father who gave him the gun. Anyway, so what he said when he was asked about this is JD Vance. Good God. Dear me, talk about, saying the wrong thing. So asked about the Georgia shooting while he was speaking at a campaign rally in Phoenix, Arizona on Thursday, he said, "I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that it is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets." And he went on to say, "We've got to bolster security at our schools, so a person who walks through the front door and wants to kill a bunch of children, they're not able to." As a parent, do I want my kids' school to have additional security? No, of course I don't. But it is increasingly the reality that we live in. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that's the way it's got to be looked at? It's just the way it is. Realpolitik. You just have to accept it. Just step up the security. But of course, the Democrats say the opposite. School shootings are not just a fact of life. This is Kamala Harris, I think, who said this. It doesn't have to be this way. We can take action to protect our children, and we will. So Vance had accused Kamala Harris of wanting to take law-abiding citizens' guns away from them. This gun thing in America, it is like a big thing, isn't it? I just feel it's like the bloody it's like the war, it's like Palestine and Israel. You feel like there'll never be an end to it. The argument, there's no what's the answer? Because it's all right to say, oh, they're a fact of life, but there's a lot of them. So let's have a look how many, in fact, there've been this year. So school shootings this year. This was updated. It says September the 6th, so maybe it's only just been updated after the shootings. School shootings, terrifying to students, educators, parents and communities, always reignite polarizing debates about gun rights and school safety. To bring context to these debates, Education Week journalists began tracking shootings on K-12 school property that resulted in firearm-related injuries or death. So in 2024, we are continuing this heartbreaking but important work. So this year, there have been 26 school shootings that resulted in injuries or deaths. And there have been 208 since 2018. There were 38 school shootings with injuries or deaths last year. So 38 last year, there's been 26 so far this year. So we're on course for it being a similar amount. Apparently there were 51 in 2022. That was a year for it, wasn't it? Bloody hell. 51 school shootings in 2022, 35 in 2021. Only 10. I say only 10, it's 10 too many, of course. But wonder why, was that COVID? Was that when COVID was going on? Probably, yeah, because COVID was in 2020, wasn't it? That's probably how it only ended up being 10 in 2020, because that's quite a substantial difference, isn't it? So in 2018, 2019, there were 24 school shootings in each of those years. Then it went down in the COVID year, like to 10. And then look how it's gone up since then. I think everyone went a bit loopy, didn't they, after COVID? A bit more loopy than they were before. So, all of us did, didn't we? I think COVID definitely affected everyone's mental health, didn't it? So if people already had some mental health issues, all the COVID, the lockdowns, etc., definitely made it worse, I think. So 2018 and 2019, 24. 2020 only 10 because, as I say, probably because of COVID. Jumped up then to 35 in 2021. Then jumped up even more to 51 in 2022. And 38 last year, going down a little bit, but already this year there's been 26. Well, we're in September, there's still a couple of months to go. Hopefully there won't be any more, but you just don't feel really very confident, do you, that there won't be any more? Let's just have a look where they were as well. How many and where? Let's see. Oh, I thought there'd be like a graph or something. Oh, there you go. So this is America. So there's none here. There's this big chunk here. It's interesting, isn't it? So there's quite a lot right over in the edge here, if you like. All around the coast areas here seems to be a lot, or just inland from the coast. 2 here. So that one was Iowa. 2 people killed. What's this one? North Kansas. Trying to get it on there. 2 people. Oh, nobody killed, but 2 people injured. Why is that one there? Oh, that's the latest one. 4 people killed. Yeah, so it's strange, isn't it? What about this great big chunk in the middle here? No, there's been none. They do seem to be a little bit clustered together, don't they? Anyway, so just let me know what you think. I mean, we're not going to solve it. I don't know what's the answer to this. Maybe J.D. Vance is right. Maybe it's just something that has to be accepted. That at the end of the day, teenagers, I'm sure the only reason these school shootings don't happen so much in other countries is because the children haven't got access to guns. But of course, they have got access to knives. And we saw that, didn't we, with the Southport stabbings? If people have got mental health issues and want to do some damage, They're going to head for vulnerable spots, vulnerable children. That's what happened with the Southport stabbings. So do you agree? Do you agree with J.D. Vance? Do you think we just have to accept them as a way of life, as part of life? Or should we not accept that and we should think, no, we can do something about this? I'm sure you'll let me know in comments. Let's see if let's have a look at this.
Also let you know about
in court. This is his father again. Very emotional.
a preliminary hearing that's been scheduled for you. Why don't you just state your name, please? All right, pull the microphone down, please. There you go. All right, and how old are you, Mr. Gray?
54.
And are you able to read and write and understand the English language without any difficulty?
Yes, sir.
How far did you go in school?
11th grade GED.
Okay. And I note that you have counsel seated with you at the table. Do you understand that you have the right to be represented by an attorney at all times for this and all future proceedings in your case?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that, of course, if you cannot afford an attorney, that the public defender will be appointed to represent you upon your request?
Yes, sir.
All right. And counsel, would you identify yourself, please, for the record?
Donna Seagraves. We are going to have new counsel assigned to Mr. Gray later today.
All right. Thank you. All right. Okay. Sorry. Just need to make sure that the system is working. And all right. So the following aren't questions that I'm going to ask. I'm just informing you of some things. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you at further hearings or at a trial on the charges that you're facing. For this hearing, you're not going to be questioned about facts and circumstances surrounding your charges. You are currently charged with, and you'll be provided with copies of the warrants if you don't already have them, currently charged with 2 counts of felony murder in the second degree. You're charged with 4 counts of felony involuntary manslaughter. You're charged with 8 counts of felony cruelty to children in the second degree. Now, for these offenses, for the felony murder counts in the second degree, felony murder in the second degree, the maximum penalty for each count is up to 30 years imprisonment. For felony involuntary manslaughter.
So he's not coming out of prison, is he? No wonder he's rocking from backwards and forwards on his chair. He's Colt probably will end up coming out of prison one day because he's so young. He's 14 years old, but this guy's in his 50s, and these are big sentences. So he knows, he isn't coming out of prison.
Manslaughter, of course, again, there are 4 counts. The maximum penalty for each of those offenses is 10 years imprisonment. For the 8 felony cruelty to children counts, the maximum penalty under the law for each of those 8 counts is 10 years imprisonment, for a maximum total possible penalty for the charges that you currently are facing of 180 years imprisonment.
180 years in prison he's facing. Well, do you know what? I bet there's a lot of families out there in America, a lot of parents making sure they're good. I hope so anyway. I hope so. Maybe it will. I think this has been a good thing that they've done since Ethan Crumbley's case, prosecuting the parents, because now those parents, they're going to make sure the guns are locked away safely, or get them out of the house or whatever, because now the parents have got a vested interest to make sure that their children can't get their hands on these guns. Thing is, teenagers, it's all sorts of mental health issues affect all teenagers, even teenagers from rich households, or it's not just working class people, or this is an epidemic, mental health illness, and problems at school, bullying, all those things. So this is good. I do think it's good, because hopefully maybe it will help. Now that they've started to prosecute the parents, maybe it will help.
If you have questions about these charges, which I assume that you will, the court urges you to discuss those with your attorney. Let me inquire as to whether there's a motion for bond, if Mr. Gray is moving for bond at this time.
No, sir, not at this time. We will allow alternate counsel to make that decision.
All right, thank you. All right, I also need to inform you that you have the right to an indictment by a grand jury, and you also have the right to a preliminary hearing unless you make bond or waive such a hearing. You have the right to a speedy and public trial by a judge or jury. You have the right to confront and cross-examine all witnesses. You have the right to call witnesses on your own behalf and testify in your own defense if you so choose. I want to make it clear to you, Mr. Gray, that you are presumed innocent. Your refusal to testify at any point cannot be used against you in determining whether you are guilty or not guilty. I mentioned the first appearance hearing a moment ago. That is being set for you for December 4th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. Currently, that's set to take place in the Magistrate Court of Barrow County. It could be subject to change, but I just want you to know that that is the date that we currently have. In fact, counsel, could you approach, please? I have this, let's see, I need to scratch this out. This document that discusses bond and gives the date of the preliminary hearing. And I guess I could sign that, and he could just get a copy of it. And then the warrants are attached to that. So I would like for him.
Well, he might well be rocking backwards and forwards. He might well be rocking backwards and forwards because he's got a lot of years to face, hasn't he?
Right there, just so you're getting a copy of that. He is giving you a copy. He'll give you a copy of all those notes. Do you want me to go ahead and give him his copy?
Yes, please.
And the page continues. And are these his copies of the warrants?
Those are provided, and they say service copies on them, so I assume that they're.
So, yeah, I think there's probably a lot of families, parents in America really sort of reconsidering where their guns are. Do they even need guns in the house? What are their teenagers up to, etc., etc. Right, so just before we finish, I want to have a look at. So then, same courtroom, same judge, same people looking after him, his son. You know, when you see this boy, he looks tiny, doesn't he? Joe, the damage that a young person like that can do. Just to let you know, I did forget to share at first, so, but anyway, I do remember to share in a minute. You know, why did he do it? Why, you know, I appreciate that maybe he was bullied and he looks like a child.
With the possibility of.
Yeah, so this young lad, he's not one of those 14-year-olds that looks like a man, is he? Sometimes 14-year-olds look like a man. He does look like a little boy. You think the gun would be bigger than him. You know, he's like, you know, it's a shame. It is a shame. Why? Because his life's down the toilet, isn't it? I mean, he probably will come out of prison. I think he's young enough to go to prison, get even a really lengthy sentence. But will he get parole one day? I don't know. But, you know, he just looks, I just think he looks so tiny. But, yeah, David, there'd been an investigation. The police came round the sheriff came round to the house. And there was an investigation. So the father knew that, so apparently on Discord, this lad had made a threat to kill, you know, and this was reported to the police. The police came round, investigated. I think it was in the May time before this happened. Last week, wasn't it, that it happened? So the father knew that he'd had issues. And while actually the police were there at the house, the father showed them pictures that he had on his mobile. You know, he'd taken his son out deer hunting and he'd shot his first deer. It was the best day ever, the father said. And he showed them a picture of him with blood on his cheeks from this deer that he'd shot. You know, so this father, he was glorifying, you know, shooting and stuff like that. Anyway, so nothing came of that. And then the following Christmas, so it must have been last year then. Anyway, he bought him a gun for Christmas. So there you go. Just don't buy a 14-year-old a gun.
Parole. If you have any questions about these charges, then I would urge you to discuss those with your attorney. I would invite you, Mr. Harmon, to inform the court as to whether there's a request for bond at this time.
At this time, Your Honor, there is not a request for bond. We will file the appropriate motions if that becomes necessary.
All right. An indictment by the grand jury for most felony offenses or accusations.
You know, and as I was saying before, but I forgot to share the video, but yeah, we don't expect you. He looks just like a child. You know, he's not a big 14-year-old, is he? He's a little 14-year-old, and he looks like a child. And at the end of the day, children are normally who we're trying to protect. We don't expect them to be the predators, do we? We think we should be protecting them from predators.
Well, you have the right to receive an indictment for these offenses. And I assume Mr. Brad Smith is here on behalf of the DA's office, or he is our district attorney, and he's accompanied by Ms. Patricia Brooks, who is his chief assistant. A preliminary.
Okay. Now I'm going to go to the live. Yeah, I'm live now. Let's put a picture up. Now, the thing is, what was I going to say? I was going to say something then. It's gone right out my head while I'm looking for a picture to put up, so you don't have to. There you go. So yeah, look, he just looks so young, this lad. But anyway, I mean, surely the lad as well, you know, Does he know that that's it? His life's just down the toilet now. Not only his life, but his dad's life as well. But I suppose you don't think about things when you're that age. He's not thinking about, I don't know what he was thinking about. What do these teenagers think about when they go off and do these things? I'm surprised there's not more of these, really. Sometimes the more you read into it and you think about it, you think, God, I'm surprised there's not more of it. You know, they've all got bloody weapons and they're encouraged to, they can go to the firing range and learn how to shoot at 14 years old, go hunting. You know, if they're encouraged by their family to have weapons because maybe it's a hunting family or whatever. I suppose really it's a bit of a surprise that it doesn't happen more often. You know, and it's quite chilling to think that even as we're talking about it now, there'll be a young person out there. I mean, it's normally lads, isn't it? But of course, the famous one, the Boomtown Rats, wrote the song about it. Let's have a look at that. But it's very unusual for it to be a girl, isn't it? It's normally a boy. These teenage shootings. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is normally a boy. But it was a girl, wasn't it, that inspired the Boomtown Rats song, I Don't Like Mondays. Let me just have a look. So it was the Cleveland Elementary School shooting in San Diego. And what happened? Let's see what happened. So it was a 16-year-old, Brenda Ann Spencer, and she fired at children in a school playground at Grover Cleveland Elementary School in San Diego, California, on the 29th of January 1979, killing 2 adults, injuring 8 children and 1 police officer. And she showed no remorse, and her explanation was, I don't like Mondays, this livens up the day. And of course, Bob Geldof wrote that song about it, and you know, became a famous song, didn't it? Wonder where she is now. Let's have a look. Brenda Ann Spencer. Right, I'm going to share this.
Yeah.
Shush.
Yeah.
So, how old is she now then? So
Yeah.
she will be. She got life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Well, she'll be out, will she? She'll be out now, will she? Stop it. So this is her, Brent. Oh, she's 62 now. Oh, no, she's still in prison. Her next parole hearing is next year. I wonder why she's not been... I wonder why she's not been released, because it is a long, long time ago now. When was it? 1979. It's over 40 years ago. I wonder why she hasn't. Let's just have a look at her parole attempts. So initially she said she had been hoping that the police would shoot her, you know, like suicide by cop. Seems like she didn't have a very good upbringing, but you know what? Lots of people don't have very good upbringings, do they? Doesn't say why she didn't get parole. Because I was surprised she didn't get parole, to be honest. You know, what would be the reason? Maybe she's still got issues. God. So, do you read that there? In the months following the shooting, one of her first cellmates, a 17-year-old girl, moved in with her father and married him on March the 26th, 1980. and they had a daughter together, after which she fled the household and eventually divorced and left Wallace Spencer to raise their child alone. And Wallace Spencer died in February 2016. I'm just going to, right, go in the bathroom. There's some fireworks going off for the theatre. Go on. No. Oh. Sorry about that. It's a shame. There's fireworks. There's fireworks going off. There's not much you can do because she gets frightened her. So anyway, so what was just telling you about that, and then apparently there was another shooting at another school called the same. There was different school but called the same name, Grover Cleveland Elementary in Stockton, California. 5 students killed and 30 injured. It's sad, isn't it? It's sad obviously for the victims, and also sad for the perpetrator, because their life is completely ruined too. Everyone's life is ruined. Hi, Silver. Yeah. 2 classmates and 2 teachers. I know, it just, when we've been looking at the Micah Miller case, she just walked into that, it was to kill herself, but she just walked into that pawn shop, bought a gun. 10 minutes it took to go in, buy a gun. No checks will have been made on her mental health. Look at her mental health history. Why was she allowed to buy a gun just like that in 10 minutes? When she had a long history of mental health issues. So something could be done. I know, I really do think, these sort of things, there's people out there now, as we speak, planning something. You can bet within the next couple of weeks or whatever, there'll be another event somewhere, because of course that's just America. It tends to happen in America a lot because of the gun laws being easier there. But it could happen in the UK, but in the UK it'll be a stabbing like the Southport stabbings, more likely than than a gun rampage. It's rare for us to get a gun rampage in the UK because of the gun laws. We did have one though, didn't we? Had that young lad, that incel guy. Let's have a look. Killed his mum and then shot a couple of people. That was quite recently. And did he kill himself or did the police? The Plymouth shooting. Yeah, this was in 2021. Oh gosh. Now, I'm fascinated with serial killers, but I would never go. No, this is much more recent, David. This one, let's have a look. I'll show you. It was in Plymouth. It's a young lad, another young lad. Plymouth shooter fascinated by serial killers and incel culture. Jake Davison killed 5 people in August 2021. So, he'd had some issues with being aggressive and that, but he had a gun for hunting, I think. So a man who killed 5 people, including his mother and a 3-year-old girl, was fascinated by mass shootings, serial killers, and violent heroes of incel ideology. And the jury also heard that gunman Jake Davison expressed strongly misogynistic views and despair about his own life in the months before he killed 5 people. And on the afternoon of the shootings, which ended when he turned his pump-action shotgun. So he had a pump-action shotgun. How did he have a pump-action shotgun? So apparently he viewed an online thread asking why incels felt the need to end their own lives and looked up posts on kidnapping and detransitioning, the court heard. So during the second day of the inquest on his 5 victims, because what he did was that as he just sort of shot anyone who was around, and unfortunately there was a man with his daughter. That's how the child ended up getting killed. I mean, it was, terrible. Started off shooting his mum. They quite often do. The Hungerford guy shot his mum, didn't he? So during the second day of the inquest on Davison's 5 victims, the jury in Exeter was shown a police video recreation of the shooting, including footage of him walking around the streets of his neighbourhood in August 2021, holding his pump-action shotgun. Let's have a look at this video. So this is a reconstruction. This isn't the actual video, apparently. There is no sound. So his poor mum had rang the police to say there was a situation, from where it says here, and 1808 he shoots her twice. How awful. So yeah, this poor guy and his daughter, they'd been for a walk and they just happened, sometimes you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So Sophie and Lee Martin, they continue into Biddock Drive, and unfortunately they met evil there that day. So, at 1809, he kills Sophie and Lee Martin. Lee is shot 3 times, once from a range of about 20 metres, another from an undeterminable distance, and a third from less than 1 metre. And Sophie is shot once from a range of less than 1 metre. Just like you just think, what a horrible person. Because all right, he's decided his life's shit or whatever, and he's decided to take himself out of it. But why did he take that man and his daughter with him? you know, and his mum, of course. But at least that he knew who knows what was going on between him and his mum. But this man and his daughter, they were just walking past. He didn't even know them. He had no reason, to dislike them so much, to murder them or whatever. Just, I really hope he's spinning in hell, to be honest. And the thing is, these places, like when you saw that little cul-de-sac where he lived, they look so sort of innocent, don't they? It just, that again, it'd be one of those places that people probably said, oh, nothing like that ever happens here. But in the meantime, they've got an incel with the mental health issues and a pump action shotgun living right in their midst. Yeah, then he finds one more victim, Stephen Washington, in Linear Park. Stephen is shot twice. One's from a range of 10 to 16 meters and one's from a range of less than 3 meters. So he's just walking through the park and this Jake Davidson comes up behind him. Oh dear. The bystander runs off. I don't blame him. Oh, there's another one. So this poor woman, Kate Shepherd, she's just come out of Lidl. She's just been and done her shopping. Oh. Yeah, so she just happens to be walking past him and he shoots her. Gosh, those policemen, they had no guns or anything. So is he looking for more victims? Oh my God, if you lived around there or these cars going past, they didn't even know how lucky they were, did they? There's the police there now. Yeah. Terrifying. Terrifying. So, when the police searched the home that he shared with his mother, they found almost 400 of the type of buffalo cartridges normally bought to hunt large animals. and they were what he used during the 8-minute attack. He'd been fascinated by guns since he was a boy, and in May 2012, Career Southwest, a service that he'd been using for some years, noted he loves guns and wants to join a gun club. And in 2016, Davison's mother raised her concerns with Career Southwest about her son's continuing fixations with firearms. And staff from Career Southwest was so worried about Davison, they informally passed on information to a representative from the government's counter-terrorism prevent program, but the official did not feel it met the criteria for a formal referral. And the court was told that in the months before the attack, Davison, an apprentice crane operator, made a series of disturbing online posts and undertook worrying online searches. In April 2021, he posted a video about an assault he had carried out because someone had called him fat, which hurt his ego. He stated this is why incels were more prone to killing themselves or going on a killing spree. And about this time, he also referred to the California man, Elliot Rodger. He's another one. I don't know if you know about the Elliot Rodger case, but he's like he was supposedly an incel, a virgin. Could it, he made these videos saying why couldn't he get a girl and this, that, and the other. And he did exactly the same thing. A mass killer idolized by the incel community. In July 2021, the month before he struck, he filmed himself talking about his lack of success in dating apps, disillusionment of life and self-hatred. He referred to himself as the black sheep of the family and described his mother as very difficult to live with. He expressed views that had missed out on relationships, describing himself as a virgin, fat, ugly. And another point he said, I like to think sometimes I'm the Terminator or something. And in July, he looked up the 1987 Hungerford mass shootings in Berkshire, in which 16 people were killed. Gosh, 3 years before, I'll tell you what, if the police ever came in and saw my search history, they'd arrest me, I think. 3 days before the killings, he was searching for information about the US serial killer Ted Bundy and incel murderers. He watched videos of firearms and how to use them and posted a clip from an online game called Killzone. Anyway, so I think he took his own life, I think, at the end of it all. So unlawful killing verdicts, but it doesn't bring these victims back. So yeah, very sad. I don't know Victoria Morris's. Never heard of Victoria Morris. So yeah. So do you think that's right? He still had a license, like it was saying there. Let's see, on one of those other ones. Look, GP was not told that the Plymouth shooter had. I'm going to try and get me to sign up. I don't want to sign up. Dr. Ben Dawson had declined to acknowledge Jake Davison's suitability to own a weapon. So the doctor is saying that he hadn't been told, he hadn't been informed about the shotgun certificate. Yeah. Jake Davison's GP was never told that his patient had been granted a shotgun certificate. after the doctor declined to provide an opinion on his suitability to own a weapon. Dr. Ben Dawson said he had refused because he was not qualified to comment on the assessment of behavioural and personality disorders. So he'd applied to Devon and Cornwall Police for a shotgun certificate in July in 2017 and had declared he had autism and Asperger syndrome on his application form, and he had given consent for his GP to share information. The letter gave Dawson 21 days to reply if he had any concerns, but the GP wrote back saying, "I decline to provide the requested report because it seeks an opinion on matters falling outside my medical expertise, namely assessment of behavioural and personality disorders." So they just give him the license. They just gave it him. And 5 weeks after he got his license, so then he got his shotgun back, he got his certificate back, and 5 weeks later he killed 5 people and then turned the gun on himself. Yeah, you can. The trouble is, always when you look back at these cases, isn't it? You can see what should have been done, but it's just never done. You know, in hindsight, it's easy to see, but people don't seem to see it at the time. Unarmed PC tells inquest how he ran at the shooter. Oh. Gosh, fancy running at someone with a pump-action shotgun. PC Zachary Printer told the inquest, "My role as a police officer is to protect the public as best I can." Do you know, the police get so much stick, but, you know, they have to put up with a lot of shit, don't they? And often they do very brave things. I had no choice. I had to confront him to protect the public. I had to become the focus of his attention. Printer, a former Royal Marine, said he went to the scene even though unarmed officers were not supposed to attend. He was tending one of the victims when he heard someone shouting, "He's back, he's got a gun." And Printer turned and saw a heavily built man carrying a shotgun. He said, "I got up and started to run towards him. I shouted, 'Stand still.' Oh my God. Oh my God. My thoughts were, I needed to protect the public. I needed to protect my colleagues. I also needed to protect Jake. He was obvious." This is going to make me cry. But I'm thinking of that teacher at that school shooting who threw herself in front of her student. You know, people do such, you know, brave things, don't they? I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that. Maybe I would in the moment. Maybe in the moment you just would. But, gosh, I also needed to protect Jake. He was obviously going through a massive trauma. If I got closer, I would negotiate and talk him down. He said he got to within 20 meters of Davison when the shooter turned the weapon on himself. I sprinted towards Jake. He had suffered catastrophic, non-survivable injuries. Oh my God, poor guy. So, God, I hope he's had counselling and what have you. That must have been so traumatic for him as well. Davison's neighbours, Michelle Parker and her son Ben Parsonage, were injured when Davison shot at them. Parker recalled him staring right through us, no remorse. Well, he was gone by then, wasn't he? He was in some sort of psychosis. She said she was still scared of opening her front door and could not sleep with the lights off. Describing the moment Davison shot them, Parsonage said, "I could see Jake's face, the smirk on his face, no remorse. He did not care what he was doing. And he said that the incident had left him feeling hopeless and emotional wreck." Hey, Yeah, so it does happen, or it did happen. They completely screwed up, didn't they? Really, at the end of the day, completely screwed up. But you know, and then that policeman went out and was brave and maybe saved lives by confronting Jake, and Jake. Don't know why he didn't shoot the policeman, but he didn't. So maybe he didn't shoot him because he was brave. I don't know, but truth is certainly stranger. This is what I mean when you're doing, you know, stories about true crime. There's no end, unfortunately, to these stories, is there? There's no end. There's always another story. God, you could, you know, could be here all night talking about different stories. If I started on that Elliot one, I watched his videos, you know, that he released. He was just so arrogant, you know, but he was a young lad who was given everything in life. You know, his parents, they had money, you know, maybe they didn't give him time, maybe they didn't give him love, I don't know. But he had a privileged life. You know, that one, the American one that he's supposed to have idolized. He had a very privileged life. So, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to let you go now. I'm going to go to Bobby's. I'm going to go to bed because it is nearly 11 o'clock here. It's 10:45. And that's way past my bedtime. I'm not normally. I was supposed to do this video yesterday evening. Oh, yesterday afternoon, that's right. And then I realized that's when I planned it for. And then I realized because I'd done a video in the morning, I did another video in the evening. And I just thought, I'm just doing too much. So I changed it to today. Then I forgot that England were playing. England won. Yay, they played really well. You know, and they actually went and scored 2 goals. Hopefully we've got a manager now who encourages attacking football. So that was some good news today that England won. Well, good news for me anyway. And I expect I'll be back tomorrow. I may have a day off, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I hope you're all okay. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening or your morning or your afternoon, wherever you are. I don't know what you're up to, if it's morning time or evening time. And I will see you all really soon, as always, in the next video. Thank you and good night. And until I see you again, of course, may your God go with you. Night, night.